1. Context. I work in a small family-run restaurant and double as a server and line cook, and have been there for nearly 8 years. We're also in a big tourist area. We have a somewhat open kitchen, pizza prep and anything grilled, but also have a smaller kitchen in the back for side dishes, pasta, etc. We have a few regulars that know the servers by name. A couple of them are older and often request to be sat in a certain server's section. Not a problem. One of our regulars comes in and requests to be sat in my section. The acting host, owner, informs her that I'm in the kitchen today and not on the floor. They get sat in another server's section, but ask if I'm doing okay, as I'm only recently back at work from an injury. The owner is also a friend of the regular and asks me when I have a free minute if I would mind going out and saying hello. I go out and speak with them casually, like the owner asks, before heading back to the kitchen. As I'm walking past another table, a glass smashes. I turn to see a family entitled mother, father, and 3 young kids. I look around for the server, but I can't see her. And I know I can't leave the glass flying around, so I quickly grab a spot sweep and begin to clean it as the owner comes over. EM insists it was me who knocked over the drink and ruined the kids' dinner. However, how the glass smashed, and the child and furniture covered in soda suggested otherwise. The owner tells me to head back to the kitchen, as he just seated an 8-top, and they'll be putting in orders. He then proceeds to move the family to a clean table and get them all new sodas on the house. This doesn't seem good enough for EM, as she follows me back through the open kitchen. I inform her that customers can't be back here, as it is an open kitchen and for staff only. She tells me that because servers walk around here and the cutlery and menus are stored there, it must be a public space, and she is a manager of a restaurant and knows that menus and cutlery are kept in public spaces. I keep telling her that she needs to leave the space, and that might be the case in her restaurant, but it isn't here. But it doesn't work, so I give up and go into the closed kitchen. But EM follows me in there too. The owner is still busy with the husband, and I can't see the head chef around. So I wash my hands, throw on my hairnet, and start to look at my tickets, in the hopes that she just stands there until the head chef gets back, or realizes she's in a place she shouldn't be. EM demands that I remake her son's dinner, as I was the one who spilled soda on it. I do see that another kid's meal ticket has been rang through by the owner for that table. Whether it was comped or not, I don't know, so I ask her to leave so I can begin to make it. She once again refuses and insisted that she stays there to make sure I don't, and I quote, poison her son. I ignore the comment, and the head chef comes back, who asks what EM is doing in the kitchen. She retells the story of how I apparently knocked over the drinks, all of them this time apparently, ruining the dinners, again apparently all of them, and that she wants to make sure I don't mess up their order, as she overheard the conversation I had with the regular about me training and taking on the line cook role. Head chef is a tall, muscly man. He often deals with drunk, annoying people at the bar for the bartender, that kind of guy. He calls her story bull, looks at the tickets, and tells me just to remake the kids' meal. EM proceeds to hurl insults at us both, which draws in the owner. EM tells the owner that I have ruined her holiday and that the head chef threatened her, and she wants to call the police as she is fearing for her safety, as head chef is angry and has access to knives. Head chef is physically imposing, yes, and deals with drunk people a lot, but in reality that dude won't even kill spiders, and has the servers or line cooks deal with them because he's afraid of them. The whole charade ends when servers start coming in, asking for food for the 8-top that hasn't even been prepared. The owner informs me to make the son's dish, but put it in a to-go box, and tells EM that he will call the police if she wishes, but only after reviewing CCTV if head chef did threaten her with the knife. Then, of course, he will call them. EM doesn't like this solution and continues to scream at the owner. He tells her that she's had her fun and is now making it hard for the restaurant to function. So if she doesn't leave the restaurant, he will have her removed by police. EM doesn't like this either, and continues to throw insults and says she'll leave a terrible review. Like we care. Owner eventually manages to ask one of the servers to call the police to remove the woman, and comp the whole 8-top's meals. The whole thing went on for an hour and a half, in which time the table of 8 had to be comped, as did 4 other tables of 2 because EM wouldn't let the kitchen staff work. Safe to say EM is now banned from the restaurant. Owner said kids and husbands seemed okay when he was dealing with them to begin with. As she was removed by the police, owner said that the husband and kids had actually already left the restaurant. 2. A few years back, I was teaching guitar as a profession. I taught all ages, and at the time, my youngest student was 6. He was fine to teach. Obviously, we kept to the basics, and early on I recommended his mum buy a small-scale guitar for him, as his hands really couldn't get around the fretboard, which she did. For reference, I taught as part of a guitar school, so I was assigned students by my boss. I mostly got the metal-inclined students, as that was my forte, as well as the youngsters, as I was fairly young myself, and I tended to get along well with kids. One day, boss man calls me up and lets me know he has a student for me, that from the sounds of things they're very young. But to give it a shot and see how it goes. Warns me the mum sounds a bit strange. Whatever, I'll give it a whirl. And weird guitar students and parents aren't exactly out of the ordinary, nor could I classify as normal myself. Little did I know what was to come. So the lesson comes. In walks EM and her kid. The kid is 2, nearly 3 apparently. Now I hinted at it before with the 6-year-old student's story, but 2 is just too young. Mentality aside. Physically, they cannot play a guitar, especially not a full-sized one. Now the mother informs me that her son picked up an inflatable guitar and air guitared with it for a while at Target the other day, and she thought that showed true musical intuition, and wanted to foster that in him. Okay, I thought, this is going to be a little wild. I said that's awesome, and asked if they had a guitar at home, as I could see they didn't bring one, to which she said no, she thought it was more important to find him a tutor. Children's brains are like sponges, etc. Okie dokie. So I show her the guitars I can lend for the lesson, suggesting the smallest but still full-scale guitar I had to offer, which she accepted. Now the kid was tiny. He couldn't hold the guitar while sitting in a chair, so we do the lesson from the floor. He also can only reach the bottom string of the guitar. Now the kid himself seems friendly and happy, but completely uninterested in the guitar, and I try to teach him Smoke on the Water on one string. But it really just went nowhere. Meanwhile, EM is sitting there watching me like a hawk, which never happened before or since. Most parents would leave their kids with me, which I preferred, as the kid is usually more relaxed and able to have more fun rather than feeling like they have to prove something to their parents. I'm also more relaxed, not feeling like I'm being judged on whether every second of my time they're paying for is worth it. This being said, when a parent did sit on a lesson, which I understand, there are bad people out there. I am a hairy metalhead, do what you gotta do, but most of them would sit on their phones, read a book, etc., not watch me without blinking for 30 straight minutes. Anyway, I get through the lesson. It's a little uncomfortable because of hawk eyes, but at the end of the day, the kid was nice, easy money, right? It's basically a paid break. Goodbyes at the end of the lesson go fine. No actual physical freakout occurs. After my last lesson of the day, however, I think about it and conclude that I don't want to just take free money. I get a feeling EM is going to make the lessons uncomfortable on an ongoing basis, and genuinely the best way for that kid's musical talent to be harnessed is having an instrument at home. So I make a bad business move and text EM saying something along the lines of, "Hey, I think it's awesome that you want to encourage your child to pursue music, but I honestly feel like I'm robbing you. Your money would be better spent buying him a half-size guitar or even a ukulele so that he can play around with it in his own time. Kids are amazing. You'll be shocked what he'll pick up even without a teacher, blah blah blah, niceties, etc." Now, I wish I could give you the response verbatim, as it was much longer than what I'm able to reproduce. However, I have lost this phone, so I'm just going to do my best to recreate it from memory. I'm frankly shocked and appalled that you would send this to me. It's clear that my child has talent, which any true musician would jump at the opportunity to cultivate. Clearly you lack talent yourself to see it, and obviously you hate children. I'm going to search elsewhere and find a tutor who has the skills and patience to foster the genius in my son. You arrogant dickhead. Now to remind you, the kid, and not to do him any disservice, he was lovely, but he was a fucking 2.5-year-old. It wasn't clear whether he had talent in wiping his own ass at this point. Furthermore, I was effectively the designated children's teacher due to the fact that I was good with the kids. I didn't know where she got that I hated them from. Needless to say, this text was passed around the office, so to speak, and we all had many a hearty chuckle over it. 3. Every year my family and I visit a tourist town after Thanksgiving. This town has a big Christmas parade every year, and this year came with the addition of a wild EM. Let me set the scene for y'all. It's common knowledge among repeat visitors that if you want street-side seats, you have to come at least a day early and drop a folding chair for yourself somewhere along the route. So we drop one chair for each member of our family. On the day of the parade, we get into town around lunch and do some shopping till it gets close to time for the parade. We get to our chairs and settle in to rest from walking around town. The parade is still 2 hours out, but we're tired of walking around. At parade time, we notice another family has taken a position on the steps of a shop behind us. Naturally, there is a sidewalk between the street and the 3 to 4 steps to the shop. Nothing too uncommon starts yet. Last-minute comers and those unaware of the custom of claiming a spot early commonly take up any free space during the parade. The parade starts as normal, and there's still a pretty steady stream of pedestrians who walk the sidewalk while viewing the parade. And so it begins. Some people pause behind us and, excuse me, my daughter can't see. Clear away so she can see the parade. You are blocking her view. You are ruining this for her." She continues to spit her venom from her stair perch till the people standing move on. Then there is peace till another crowd pauses to watch a float, band, car, whatever. Once again our ears are assaulted by this harpy screeches till the crowd moves on. Rinse and repeat with every passing parade item. We had our 2 kids with us and didn't want to ruin the experience for them, so we just tried to ignore her, despite everything and myself and my husband screaming to pluck this harpy's feathers. She wasn't coming at us, so we left it alone. Enter the Band Geek Heroes. A group of teen to 20-somethings that pause behind us to watch a band go by. The harpy screeches at them, excuse me, hey, excuse me!" getting louder each time. They initially ignore her, so she leaves her perch to get in their face. "You are keeping my daughter from being able to see the parade. We have been sitting at this place for 3 hours. "No, they haven't. "To get her a good seat."
"If she can't see, move forward and pick her up. Don't you know how parades work?"
"You are ruining this event for my child."
"We aren't doing anything to you or your kid, and we aren't moving."
"You have to move."
"We don't have to do anything for you."
"You're blocking the sidewalk."
"No, we aren't. There's plenty of room for people to get by."
Ian makes some remarks about terrible, disrespectful kids, but by now has noticed that she has gotten the surrounding people's attention, including myself. She makes eye contact with me like she expects me as a fellow mom to back her up. I just arch an eyebrow at her, so she huffs and takes her child to just behind the gap between me and the person beside me and spends the next few floats loudly bringing her child's straying attention back to the parade. It's not even 30 minutes with the next few attractions not being floats. She gives in to her child's boredom and desire to be where the rest of their family is, and moves back to the stairs. The rest of the parade goes by relatively peacefully, aside from our heroes cheering each individual instrument of the passing school bands and yelling for the cars to do burnouts, before they got a craving for snacks and moved on. The real kicker is if you made it to here, you noticed I said there was a gap between myself and the person seated next to me. Plus, for any parent that politely asks, we typically let kids sit on the curb in front of us. We had 4 other kids besides our own sitting on the curb in front of us. There was space she could have sat the parade side to give her kid a prime view. But with her behavior, I wasn't about to point that out. Else she tried to lay claim to our spot and chairs. 4. For context, my friend Kay and I met in the fall of 2014. When we both went to a college preview for MU, our undergrad school, we ended up becoming best friends. Even rooming together for fall semester of freshman year of high school, before our sleep schedules caused us to stop. She graduated a year before me, earning her degree in Bible theology and history before going to Baylor, getting a master's in history, and landing a job at a college in Iowa. I was actually surprised Kay got the job and the grad degree, not because I didn't think she could, but because her parents are so controlling of her. For example, there's more of this, but I can't think of more at the moment. They made her call them every single day and have essentially proof of life chats, both when she worked at the Christian summer camp and when we went to Virginia and London on history class trips. She has a car, but they wouldn't allow her to drive it when she was at Baylor. She wasn't allowed to ride public transit in Portland, and her parents basically dictated every part of her life growing up. So now the story. In summer of 2020, Kay messaged me to let me know she got an admissions job at EU, a tiny Christian school in Dubuque, Iowa. She told me that I should come visit sometime, and I said I would if I could work something out. Later on in the year, she messaged me again, this time saying, and I'm paraphrasing, "When are you coming to visit?" Eventually, we coordinated it. I would come visit of January 2021. We were, of course, entirely careful to follow COVID protocol at all times during the visit. Now, Dubuque has one of those regional airports where only the tiny planes fly to, the ones with basically one seat on either side of the aisle. Around late November or early December, the airport was closed. I can't remember if it was because of weather or COVID, and I got rerouted to Cedar Rapids. Both Kay and I were fine with this. I'm super go with the flow, and Kay didn't mind driving up to get me. Her mother, though, was mad. I don't know if Kay explained it badly or her mom just interpreted it wrong, but her mom came to the conclusion that I had rerouted the flight myself, somehow, because I didn't want to fly to Dubuque. This did not make Kay's mom happy, and she decided, with support from Kay's dad, that she was going to hire a family friend who drove for Uber and have him pick me up and drive me down to Dubuque. Now, I have nothing against Uber or Lyft drivers. I am just not comfortable at all using those services. And the one Uber I've now taken has done nothing to change that mindset. I don't know why, I'm just not up for it, even if the driver was a family friend. Maybe it's stranger danger, or the fact that Cedar Rapids is like 2 hours away from Dubuque, and I'd rather ride with someone I'm comfortable with. Either way, when Kay video called me to let me know, I was pissed. Here's the transcription of our Facebook messages afterwards. "My parents are paying for you to have an Uber from Cedar Rapids. We know an Uber driver that we owe a favor to anyway, so hope you're okay with that. Obviously, it was not my decision. I guess? I'm not really that comfortable with it, but whatever. I don't really want to make them more mad at me." Then proceeded to have a 58-minute video chat where we talked in more detail about it. Got the flight changed. I'm getting in at 6:07 p.m. If your mom asks why it got changed, just tell her I'm not comfortable with taking an Uber. Perfect. I'm happy to hear that for your sake. 5. You know, it's sad how often this sort of thing happens. I mean, being a blind girl, instances of ignorant people are daily. But entitled parents represent a certain level of infamy for me. But this one just happens, so hey, why not make myself feel better by making you guys hear about my misfortune? So, since my parents are more at risk from COVID, I've been going shopping alone more and more often during the pandemic. Yesterday was one of these cases. Grocery shopping is a more involved process for a blind person. I have to ask a staff member to assist me. I also have my guide dog Gumbo inside with me. The dog in itself increases the instance of bad experiences. Now, during my shopping, I always get a wide array of reactions to my dog, but one in particular occurred towards the end of my shopping. I heard loud footsteps, followed by the loud screech of
My dog is so cute, can I pet him?
It was obviously a small child by the voice, so I prepared myself before responding that no, my dog cannot be touched due to him being a guide dog. Surprisingly, the child didn't act entitled, but seemed surprised and excited about a dog having a job. She, I believe it was a she, asked me a few questions and then left. I thought nothing of it and continued with my shopping. After I finished, I decided to stop by the food court on the way out for some lunch. So I went and made my way across the supermarket. I ordered my food, sat down and waited. But by some cosmic gracing of bad luck, that is the exact moment that this child and their parent decided to walk close by. I heard the child tell the mother what I had told her, about how my dog is working as a guide dog, that I'm blind and use him to get around, etc. The mother isn't really saying anything, but I can sort of tell by her tone and the few words she does say that she's seeing some issue with what her daughter was told. I decided to listen in, and after the daughter finished her babbling, the mother came up to me. Now, as I said, people coming up to me is super common. I thought nothing much of it. However, the first words out of her mouth were, "Why did you tell my daughter you're blind?" Her tone was very harsh, very accusatory. I immediately knew what was coming, but as usual, I put on a smile. Because I am blind, your daughter asked me about my dog, so I explained what guide dogs are and why we use them. "You're not blind." "Excuse me?" The straight shooting words caught me off guard. "You're not blind. My cousin is blind, so I know what a blind person is like. You shouldn't lie about that. I think you should let my daughter pet the dog. She likes dogs. It's pretty bitchy to refuse a child something like that." My hackles rose slightly. "Well, ma'am, not all blind people are the same. Just because you know a single blind person doesn't mean you know how all blind people are. And as I already explained, your daughter can't pet my dog due to him being a seeing eye dog." "Why are you lying? Your eyes are completely fine. You're using a phone. Don't say you're blind if you're going to show you're not at the same time. Why would you lie about this?" "Excuse me, but I'm not lying. My eyes looking fine have nothing to do with anything. Not every blind person's eyes look the same. Look, you're stressing me out. I'd rather you just left me alone. My daughter wants to pet your dog. She's been well behaved all through today, and it's more than reasonable to let her pet the dog." I said no. I don't know why you can't just accept my answer. "You said no using that bullshit excuse. You're honestly starting to piss me off. I don't know who you think you are, but I happen to work for this store." I can't actually remember where she said. "And if you don't stop it, I'll get security to throw you and your fake guide dog out of here." Now I'm sure you get the picture. This went on for a good 5 minutes of her getting progressively more and more angry at the fact I wouldn't let her daughter pet my dog. The daughter was actually silent through the whole thing. I don't really think she even cared that much. The EM, however, was another story. Eventually she screamed out, "That's it! I'm going to get security! If you're smart, you'll be gone by the time I get back, or you'll regret it!" I snorted at her small fit and heard her huff and storm off. By that time, my food had arrived, so I started eating. I didn't really believe she'd go get security, but with EPs you cannot be sure. About, 5 minutes or so went by of me eating. I was enjoying my fries, browsing Reddit and Bliss, but of course, she returned. I heard her stupid stomping from like 15 feet away, and she was raging on to an apparent security guard. "Look, that's her, you see? She's sitting there with a dog. She says it's a guide dog, but she's not blind. You have to kick her out. Dogs aren't allowed." I sighed and removed an earbud to prepare for the incoming ordeal. A deep male voice sounded from a few feet in front of me. He sounded rather harassed.
Miss, is this a service dog?"
"Yes, it is. He is a seeing eye dog. I'm allowed to have him in here. I have a copy of the appropriate law if you need it."
"No, that's fine. I know service dogs are allowed. This woman is saying you aren't disabled, though. Is that true?"
No, she's just angry that I didn't let her daughter touch my dog. I honestly don't know why she cares. Because you're a liar, I told you. I have a blind cousin. Don't try to tell me I don't understand blind people, because I do. I directed my attention to the security guard. I've tried to explain to her that one blind person doesn't represent all blind people, but she doesn't seem to get it. Could you please ask her to leave me alone? I just want to eat in peace.
So you are blind?
Yes, I am.
Can you prove it in any way?
No, how could I do that, and why?
Well, it's just she's saying one thing, you're saying another thing. I don't know exactly who to believe. But yeah, I see how proving you're blind doesn't actually work.
He spoke to the woman.
Why is it exactly you think she's lying?
Are you serious? Are you thick? Look at her eyes. They're not white or cloudy like blind people's are. She's literally looking at a fucking phone.
What's your response?
Maybe her cousin has those eye symptoms, but not every blind person does. Those symptoms are caused by diseases like cataracts, which I don't have. As for the phone, devices have been accessible to the blind for years. I find it surprising she has a cousin who is blind and doesn't know that. No, I saw you look at the phone. You were looking at it. I have basic light perception. I can detect light. I can direct my eyes to it out of habit because that's where my hands are occupied. Look, it's not my job to educate you on what you don't know. So I say to the guard, please, just ask her to leave me alone. I don't care if she doesn't believe me. You don't need to stand here and mediate a back and forth as if we're going to agree. I just like her to stop talking to me and leave me in peace. I'm feeling extremely harassed.
Yeah, I get that. It's just that I can't know for sure if you're blind, so she might have a valid point.
What? That applies to every blind person. How can you prove that? If she has no reasons for me lying, then shouldn't you just give me the benefit of the doubt?
I don't know. She said her cousin's blind. She probably knows something about it.
Wow. I'm not even going to bother. Look, if you're not going to get her away from me, then I'm just going to leave. Thanks for failing to protect a disabled patron. I stood up to leave, my dog getting up to guide me. I took a few steps and suddenly felt someone grab hold of my harness handle tightly and pull me to a stop. Wait! I wanted to let my daughter pet the dog, then you can leave. No, get off my harness, get off! I understand grabbing my harness is akin to someone taking away your eyes. She was impeding my means of navigating, so I panicked. This has only happened to me once before. And I panicked then, too. I attempted to pull my harness handle back, all while screaming, "Get off! Let go! Help!" and her screaming in my ear about... Actually, I wasn't exactly listening, I was too busy screaming. But I assume it had something to do with her daughter. The security guard was fumbling around fairly uneasily. Eventually, another security guard hurried over. I heard him bark out, "What's going on?" "She's taking my guide dog. Help me, she won't let go." "No, she was supposed to let my daughter pet her dog. He said so." I assumed she pointed to the guard. The guard didn't respond. But the way the conversation went, it seemed like he non-verbally indicated that he hadn't said that. "Miss, let go of the lady's dog right now, or I'll escort you out." "No, she's not blind. The dog isn't real. Don't just jump in and assume you know what's going on." I had calmed slightly so I could speak in a more coherent manner. "Please, just get her off of me. I want to leave. I don't feel safe. Let me leave." "Hey, you're all right, miss. Everything's gonna be fine." I then felt the woman's hand being forcibly removed from the harness handle. As soon as I was free, I immediately commanded Gumbo to lead me to the exit. We walked quickly. I heard the woman screeching loudly behind me. The man shouting, "Calm down, just stop screaming." I was still somewhat panicked, but I was able to calm myself down as I hurried towards the exit. It was so chaotic, I very nearly forgot my shopping where I left it at customer services, because I didn't want to have it around me in the food court where it could be snatched. I left, called a taxi, and came home. It has really stuck with me for the last couple days. But the worst part is that these types of interactions are an almost daily occurrence. Blind people are the targets of constant harassment in public. This woman just went further by physically assaulting me. I know I could have and should have gotten her arrested, but honestly, I was just so panicked. I wanted out of the situation ASAP. So why am I telling this story? In short, spreading awareness. It's important for people to know more about the blind experience, and what blind people have to deal with. It's also super important to say, if you're ever a witness to a situation like I just described, intervene. Had the second guard not intervened for me, the situation would have been a lot worse. So I appreciate any help to spread awareness. And I didn't even get to finish my fries. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to the Shmubbity Boobity Boobity. The Shmubbity Boobity Boop. The Boobity Boobity Shmubbity Boobity 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 Boop. Boop. Or as is better known, the Impractical Proudness of Parents. Hi Pop. Episode 77. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. And I must say the mother in that last story was quite an arsehole, but my goodness, that guard, dude, just shut the fuck up. You are a security guard, not a negotiator. And I did look up Gumbo on the OP's Reddit profile, and they are a very good boy indeed. They're adorable. I would want to pet, but I would, of course, resist the urge. Very good boy. I swear I'm not a pet person. I feel the way about pets as I do about children. They are adorable when they're someone else's. Then you give them back. Although, of course, Gumbo, not a pet. He is a noble working beast. As am I right now. Rawr. Okay, what day is this? It is a day of the week. It's Thursday, so that's like the second day of the week. Third day if you start on Sunday, which is wrong. Do I have shoutouts today? It's the 14th. Something happening on the 14th. No, I don't know. There's nothing significant about the 14th. I think maybe I've got a pie in the fridge or something that expires on the 14th. I'll check later. Anyway, I think we're going to wrap things up there for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.